The Maryland Supreme Court Tuesday dismissed 3 lawsuits by Democrat-run jurisdictions claiming that oil and gas companies concealed information about their products' contributions to climate change, leading to significant costs. To react to that and share some insights on how artificial intelligence is impacting the economy and the energy sector, we're joined now by Steve Gorman. He's the executive director of the Climate Science Coalition of America. Steve, it's been a while since I've talked with you, having gone all the way back to terrestrial radio. So thank you for taking time here now with the Center Square Daily. And I want to get your reaction to this. In a 3-2 decision, you had justices essentially say that Baltimore, Annapolis, and a county improperly tried to use state and local nuisance laws to financially punish defendants like BP, ExxonMobil, Chevron, with climate change when the causes they say are international issues that cross local boundaries. Steve, what does this mean for the nation's oil industry?
Hi, Greg. Great to join you again. Yeah, this is one of many court cases. There are something like about 25 of these that are running now. The city of Chicago, state of New York, Vermont. There's one Colorado at the Supreme Court right now. And these local jurisdictions basically believe that oil company emissions of carbon dioxide are causing dangerous climate change. And despite the fact that it was legal for people to use hydrocarbons in fuel and in industry and to heat homes for many decades, they're now trying to go back and sue for damages. And we have a number of states like New York and others in New England that have passed laws saying that oil companies have to come up with billions of dollars in damages for their past emissions. Just a lot of problems with these, and the Maryland court is sort of in line with many of the other courts. Many of these suits are still running, but they've been rejected in lower courts for many years, and there has not been a single case where monetary damages have been awarded to plaintiffs from oil companies yet. There have been some climate suits that are successful, but those are usually groups that sue governments and say, you need to look at this, you need to pass regulations. But the damages against oil companies just have not occurred. So this is just another suit of many. And typically courts have said that this is the job of not state governments, but the federal government to make this determination. So just another one of these cases that is falling down.
I want to talk a little bit about the impact artificial intelligence is having on the energy sector, but still with this idea, what would happen to the oil and gas industry if, say, there is a case that proceeds and they're having to fork over hundreds of millions or billions of dollars? Would that just open the door for more increased costs for consumers at home?
Well, we'll have to see. And there are a lot of legal costs. Matter of fact, a number of the members of boards of directors of oil and gas companies have been personally sued by different groups. So it can be very hazardous if you're in those industries. By the way, it is now the official position of the United States government that greenhouse gases do not cause dangerous climate change. And as a matter of fact, the EPA just rescinded the endangerment finding in 2009 from its own agency, the EPA, that said that humans, U.S. citizens were being endangered by greenhouse gas emissions. The EPA has now rolled that back. So the official government position is that greenhouse gases are not a pollutant, despite many of these courts trying to say that they are. And here's a quote from the EPA issue. Quote, the EPA separately concludes that its regulations have not and cannot have any material impact on global climate change concerns, rendering them futile and providing another basis for today's action. So really a big change. And not only a lot of these court cases, but many regulations on auto industry and power plants are disappearing, at least for the next 3 years until we get a different administration in place.
Well, I think we could definitely spend an entire hour on the whipsaw effect that may create if we get a different philosophy in the White House and what that could mean to the energy sector. We're joined by Steve Gorham. He is Executive Director of the Climate Science Coalition of America. Steve, in a recent article, you point out artificial intelligence. It's now driving electrical power in the United States. What are the implications of this, especially when you talk about local opposition that we're seeing pop up that are concerned about land rights and possible impacts on the availability of power?
Well, in short, we have an economic transformation going on in the United States and a brewing political battle is the second half of this. And in just 3 years since November 2022, when ChatGPT released their artificial intelligence chatbot, which showed that machines could talk like humans. And then we've had expansions of all this. Artificial intelligence can translate dozens of languages, assemble prose and poetry, generate audio, images, and videos. We've also had AI models that score better than humans on the bar exam, and we just had one get 100% on the U.S. medical licensing exam. So these things are coming along. They're changing everything. And this year, 2026, we have the big tech companies, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Meta, and Oracle, that are spending $650 billion combined on data centers. And this is a number that's bigger than the individual gross domestic product of 168 nations on Earth.
Wow.
We had, at the start of 2024, we had only 2,700 data centers in the U.S. Now we have over 4,000, and the old ones are being upgraded as well. They used to just run the internet and do cloud storage. Now they're running these AI routines. And so we're doing things like we're restarting nuclear plants, we're extending coal plants. More than 200 gas-fired power plants are under construction. So we have a tremendous revolution going on. But you're right, we have rising opposition to this now. Just today, Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Ocasio-Cortez have introduced a bill in Congress calling for the halt to all data center construction in the United States. And so this is shaping up to be a big battle between the Trump administration and the progressive and environmental groups.
Well, Steve, it seems too it's showing a divide amongst those who want to rely on so-called renewable or green energy, be it windmills or solar panels, or, as we're seeing in some states, a push to carve out tax credits for battery storage, versus those who are saying we've got coal under our feet, we've got oil under our feet, and these things are reliable base load generators of power. Talk a bit about that and how we're seeing which side might be winning in this. Is it going to be power plants that are having to be brought back online? Is it gas and coal-fired power plants and nuclear power plants? How do we talk a bit about that kind of polar opposites here that are really showing through because of the reliance on energy for artificial intelligence and data centers?
Yeah, we have a tremendous build out of power plants in the United States. We don't have enough power to power this AI revolution. Just to give you an example, Meta is building their Hyperion data center in Louisiana. They're claiming it's going to be the biggest data center in the Western Hemisphere, but I think there's other ones that are just as big. It covers 1,700 football fields. This thing is so big, 3.5 square miles. And when it's done in 2030, it's going to use twice as much electricity as the city of New Orleans. So these are really, really big events. And as you say, we have nuclear plants that are restarting the Palisades in Michigan, one of the 3 Mile Island plants in Pennsylvania. There's a plant in Iowa that's being restarted, and they're resuming construction on 2 plants in South Carolina. We're extending coal plants in Georgia, Indiana, Tennessee, Utah, West Virginia. But the big winner is natural gas. Over 200 natural gas plants are in planning or under construction, including 100 in Texas alone. And the latest thing is BYOP, bring your own power. These data centers are building a power plant right on site rather than even relying on the grid. And the good news about that is that's going to help keep electricity prices lower for the average consumer. And as a matter of fact, a good recommendation for states is to have these data center people build their own power plant instead of trying to take power from the grid. So this has now revolutionized the power system in the United States. It's the biggest thing, and it was unforeseen up until 3 years ago.
You had mentioned, this kind of divide you're seeing in some that want more renewable energy or green energy, but you're predicting in one of your recent books, The Green Breakdown, that the world's actually heading towards renewable energy failure. What does that mean, and what are some of the signs you're pointing to of that coming breakdown?
Well, there's a couple factors. One is renewables are just very expensive, and a lot of nations are realizing it. The second is the AI revolution. But right now we have major political parties around the world pushing back against net zero, the idea that we could get to net zero emissions by 2050, and against the ideology of climatism. Not only the Republicans in the United States, but in the United Kingdom, the Reform UK party, which is now leading in the polls, has coined the phrase net stupid zero. In Germany, the Alternative for Deutschland party, headed up by Alice Weidel, is now threatening to tear down all of the wind turbines in Germany. And they are polling number 2 in Germany for popularity, this AFD party. And then just in the last 3 months, we had 2 parties in Australia that have said, that have voted against net zero. They say it's just too expensive. These are the Nationals and the Liberals. And so we see this happening all around the world. And it looks like the world is going to go back to sensible energy policy and away from this idea that we should be doing everything with wind and solar.
Steve Gorham, Executive Director of the Climate Science Coalition of America, greatly appreciate your time, and we'll definitely check back in with you here for the Center Square Daily.